Now, to look at the potential ramifications of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on South Africa, this time the actual South Africa, and the economy associated to it, and the global economy at large, we're joined now by Redge Nkosi, who's an economist. Redge, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Look, if the court strike down to this 30% tariff that he had imposed on South Africa, what would be the tariff that then falls into place there, given that AGOA has lapsed?
Well, firstly, we should expect, or we expect that the court is going to strike that that piece of argument from Trump and restore order in the global trading system. Quite frankly, in the way we understand it, is that the president has got the right, of course, to impose tariffs or remove a country only if it does not comply with the act. For example, in this case, AGOA. Now, he has no right whatsoever, in the way we understand it, to eliminate the entire AGOA. Of course, that is for the Congress. Now, should they strike that, quite frankly, the exports from countries like South Africa, Lesotho, and many other developing countries would certainly get a lot of relief. And we think, therefore, because we're so much dependent on exports as developing countries, the imposition of tariffs has become a very difficult experience for most of us economically, and therefore anything that seeks to strike the law in our favor is, quite frankly, welcome. So we should see GDP growing, employment growing back, because right now we've got about 39% of exports that enter the US from various parts of the developing world that has been exposed to this. It's quite a high risk. So we think that should indeed the Supreme Court strike down all this, then frankly, trade will continue to grow and employment, of course, associated with that.
Yeah, what we've seen in the reduced amount of trade, or at least exports to the US market since the imposition of the tariffs, it also means that supply chains would have had to shift their focus to markets where there are volumes that would sustain those operations. I wouldn't assume it would be an overnight switch back to high volumes of exports to the US that would befall on South Africa. Do you anticipate that it will take time to get back to what used to be the pre-Donald Trump normal?
Certainly, there's no doubt. I mean, remember that, for example, in the recent past, China has almost given the entire African continent a fillip to say they can export to China. And already people have been fighting for that. And supply chains have been, in a way, in the Chinese direction or in the Asia direction. Now, to have to reverse that takes quite a bit of time. And remember, even if, I mean, the time Trump switched off, rather imposed tariffs, quick as it was, it was very, very difficult for South Africa to begin, or not just South Africa, many countries to have to switch to other developing countries or advanced countries in Asia. Similarly, now, if we were to have a chance to have these tariffs removed, it would take a bit of time. Quite frankly, it may be such that some of those markets will be lost forever.
Yeah. Perhaps the South African negotiators are still busy negotiating with the US to come to a deal, and hopefully one would close before the end of the year, potentially using the opportunity of the G20 to close that deal on the sidelines. Will the outcome of the Supreme Court case influence, to any extent, the texture of that ongoing negotiation?
There's no doubt. Absolutely. It's very, very important. Remember, as they're negotiating, they're looking forward to what's going on in the US. And they are saying, well, should it be in this way, then our strategy is going to be this way. So actually, they're betting on the horse of the court striking Trump down. I mean, Trump's case down. There's no doubt in that regard. But I think what we should understand is that even if that was not to be the case, South Africa has got one way of achieving what it is that it's supposed to have achieved, even when there's no striking of this case against Trump. My view, and I think the view of most scholars here now, is that South Africa has been negotiating in such a way that there is an appeal for both the US and South Africa, or some of the countries around us, in such a way that we do not damage our economy, but at the same time, we're able to at least export meaningfully. But whatever the case, the South African negotiators are aware of the fact that it's not going to be an easy one. They're going to have to give and take. And at the end of the day, South Africa will have to find, as it were, a platform where both South Africa and the US would say at the end of the day, we're both winners. But it's not going to be easy. Nonetheless, both of the countries will be said to be winners.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Redge Nkosi is an economist helping us unpack what the implication of the Supreme Court ruling on Trump's tariffs could potentially be.